Hi there, Doc Sanchez here, and for today's episode we're going to be looking at a match I recently had on the map African Clearing, which is a very fun nomad start map. So you start without a TC and your villagers spread in different points across the map, and I'm going to be showing you a particular build that I have found to be very effective for this map. So we're going to jump right on in. For the most part, we're going to be looking at my point of view. We're going to start with just looking at things with the Fog of War, just so I can explain the tactic. So for this one, we have myself, Doc Sanchez, in the red as the Japanese, and I am up against Ryan KW90, who is playing in the blue as the humans. Now, the strategy I'm going to show you today is very effective with the Japanese, the Indians, the Malians, pretty much any faction that gets a bonus to either their Dark Age economy or their man-at-arm builds, or preferably both. This works really, really well as the Indians and the Japanese, so I'm bringing you a Japanese match today. Japanese have cheaper mills and mining camps and lumber camps in the Dark Age, from the Dark Age onwards, that is. And they also have better man-at-arms. I believe they attack faster than other man-at-arms. So, with a nomad start, what you want to do, you start off with your villagers in separate locations. On African Clearing, there are many of these little ponds here with shorefish. Now, shorefish are one of the quickest ways of gathering food in this game, villagers gathering shorefish. It's much slower for fishing ships to gather shorefish. So what you want to do is you want to drop yourself a mill next to one of these ponds, and then you can gather this food incredibly quickly. And this is something that's often not utilised so well at the lower elos on this map. Coming to you today, I'm in the mid to high 800 elos. I'm not entirely sure of my opponent's elo. But on this map, what you want to do is try and establish a shorefish-based income as soon as possible, and then later on you can transition into using the hunt and farms just for stability. Now, with nomad starts, you want to try and get your TC up as quick as possible. Mine was up ever so slightly before the opponent's, and you do sometimes have a little bit of idle time at the start as you establish your food eco. Now, a strategy with relation to food eco that's brought up a lot on nomad starts is the use of your herdables, your sheep, your goats, turkeys, these kinds of food sources. This is slower than the gather rates for both hunt and for the shorefish, provided you set up your drop-off points fairly close. So it's not always the most effective food source on these maps where other food sources are usually fairly plentiful. And the other benefit to having herdables, which is key for this strategy, is you can use them for scouting. So where you don't start off with a scout, it's much harder to get a picture of where your opponent is on the map and what's going on, where the resources are, unless you use your herdables. So you can see on the minimap, I've sent off the herdables I found. I found 2 sheep at the start of the game. I've sent them off in various different directions, and my main objective, because I know that there's going to be gold, stone, shorefish everywhere on this map, is to find the enemy quickly. And you can see that I have an indication that the opponent is over here, because this was the end of the trail of where one of my sheep disappeared. So that implies that there was a villager or building there that saw the sheep and took it away from me. So I know that the enemy is over there at this point. So I'm quite happy. On African Clearing, I tend to set up my TC. If you look around the edge of the map, you have a ring of trees. It's good to set up your TC on the wood so that you have enough wood available for your mills, your blacksmith, all your other buildings, your barracks. Some players tend to go for placing their TC more in the middle near these haboob trees, as they're called. Sorry, not haboob, that's the map. Boab trees. Boab? Anyway, these trees. They often set up TCs next to the gold, next to the stone, next to these trees, looking at the hunt. It's not necessarily the most effective because what you want is a constant supply of wood. Now, on normal Nomad, I advocate going towards the center of the map because it's harder to be trapped into a corner. But you can effectively make a quite nice wallable base with a ring of houses or walls just to protect your main TC. Have a constant supply of wood and then spread out. For a 1v1 map, African Clearing is very large. If we zoom out, there are loads and loads of these ponds, all with shorefish. So on this map there are 63 spots of shorefish. There's also multiple gold piles. So just in this area, just in this sort of quadrant of the map, we have 36 available tiles of gold, but across the map that number is much larger. There's also hunts distributed. There is loads of room to spread yourself out. And as you can see, if we look at my point of view, I actually have quite a lucky location with this TC. I've got all the resources I need. I've got gold, I've got stone, and I've got lots of shorefish nearby. And you can see with the Japanese bonus, so it's spending 50 wood per mill. I have not been stingy with this. I've been putting my mills everywhere near shorefish. You can see my worker efficiency, 87%. Plenty of food coming into the bank, and this will translate into a nice early uptime and translate very well into a man-at-arms push early in the game. My opponent, on the other hand, we've got 2 on shorefish. This is a number that's going to stay fairly consistent. Much more on using the hunt. They brought in a rhino. Rhinos are quite tricky. They do more damage than boars or elephants, so you have to utilise more villagers in order to take that food. Got quite a few on wood. Floating a little bit of wood, although that could be invested into a barracks for more resource dropping off points. Something to make note of as well, when clicking up, my opponent has a mill currently, and no other Dark Age building apart from houses. To click up to the feudal age, you do need a mill and either a mining camp, a lumber camp, or barracks, or a dock. It's easy to get caught up on this map, just building mills, putting your TC next to the resources, and not getting your drop-off structures. I've made a point to construct a lumber camp and a mining camp. I've gone to gold earlier than I needed to, but I have clicked up, and I want steady gold supply in my feudal age time. I've spread out a little bit. I'm going to be spreading out a little bit more. I've got a mill coming up, and this is a deliberate forward mill. So what I tend to do on African clearing is prioritise finding the enemy early, and then towards the click up time, or even before the click up time, I send villagers to the nearest pond to start gathering resources, and they can just stay in that area and build as many barracks or archery ranges, stables, whatever military buildings I'm going to need for the future ages, really nice and close to my opponent, so it doesn't take long for my units to reach there. Meanwhile, back at home, I've been really quite conservative with buildings in terms of houses for the most part. I've only got 5 houses. Not building military production buildings here because I'm expecting to keep the pressure on the enemy and keep myself safe. So you can see I have now clicked up. I'm almost in the feudal age, 12 minutes, which may or not be bad, depending on your elo. At this elo, it's pretty good for this particular map because you have some idle time to start as you pick up your TC. And even though I've only got 20 fills, I'm not even looking towards stone, so the economy's not too bad. We've got lots of villagers on fish and hunt, very efficient sources of food. We've got an efficient lumber camp, efficient TC for wood income. You can tell there was a recent update because I don't have my small trees mod enabled. And here we are, we're a few seconds into the feudal age. In our first minute, we've got our 2 barracks ready to go. Supplies is in because I'm going to be making a lot of man-at-arms. Getting the man-at-arm upgrade first, and I've queued up some militia. Now my opponent's made some militia, and unfortunately, my opponent, if we switch on their field of view, is not aware of where I am. They don't have an indication that I'm just over here, getting a surprise ready for them. So unfortunately, they have sent their defensive military away. They're going off in this direction, hoping to find me and do some damage. Meanwhile, this is why I prioritise trying to find your enemy with the sheep. I know exactly where my enemy is. If we go to my point of view, I can see that the zebra has gone down. I wouldn't be able to see the farms. That's a capture age thing. But I did see the zebra. I did make note of that. So I knew that they were over in that area. And here we go. I've been slightly slow. I wanted to make sure that I built up a few man-at-arms. And I find that that's very effective from a morale point of view. My opponents only just clicked up to feudal age. So they know that they're a long way off having a strong defensive military force with feudal age units. So when you show up with man-at-arms at their base in sufficient numbers, I've had a few players just resign immediately. They see the man-at-arms, they know they're still in the Dark Age, or early into the feudal age, and that's it. They know that there's no coming back. Man-at-arms, especially if you have Japanese man-at-arms or Malian man-at-arms, which are more resistant to arrow fire, they can be a really effective unit at this stage of the game if you're not prepared. And you'll see in the background I've been getting my blacksmith upgrades. I've got the armour so far. I'm very soon about to click forging. So once these arrive, they're going to do some serious damage. In the meantime, I've got the wood upgrade. I'm prepping some houses because I'm going to be ramping up the military production very shortly. Been utilising the hunt, switching bills over to gold. I've had a nice steady supply of all the resources I need. Now the men-at-arms are in, forging's about to come in, and immediately I've idled, 15 vills. This is one of the byproducts of not spreading out across the map. It leaves you with an area that's quite exposed and easy to hit. And when you do hit, as 2 villages go down, you immediately idle everything. Whereas if I were to get hit over at my TC here and taken off of gold, that's fine, because I've got gold over here, there's fish over here. The important thing to do when this happens, if you want to stay in the game, is to immediately start spreading your eco out around the map. Hide those builds, because humans in the feudal age can actually build a second TC. And they have the resources to do that, so if they send a contingent of builds, maybe over here over the map, they can have a chance at me and building up some archery ranges and unfortunately though, when you have this many men-at-arms show up, men-at-arms showing up in base, great trouble. And here they are, crashing houses. Militia arrive so close to being men-at-arms, but militia with no blacksmith upgrades, with Japanese fully upgraded feudal men-at-arms.
Yeah, wait.
They were attacking me for quite a while I was attacking houses, and I managed to clean them up with very little HP loss. Even eat some arrows from the TC on the way past, and they're still alive. Meanwhile, I'm destroying their houses there. They are hot capped from the last houses. The village is alive. Meanwhile, in the background, I'm getting myself wheelbarrow. Got one of my village upgrades. Not producing any more men-at-arms at the moment. More villages because of the wheelbarrow. We've had roughly similar idle TC runs. But when you want the worker efficiency, you can understand the difference in resources. Unfortunately, my opponents a bit greedy, did not get Looming Dark Age, and so they have lost so far 4 villages, rushing up some houses. We've got some idle time here, and at this point, you're in a command lead. If you look at my resources, I've already got my buildings, I've built a blacksmith and market. I'm looking to click up any moment now, just to solidify the win. My opponent, unfortunately, has been floating a lot of wood, a lot of gold. They haven't had the space to be able to translate those resources into units, and as a result, they are in quite a desperate situation at this point. At this point, I'm just being annoying. There's no real value to destroying them other than psychological impact and driving them in line of sight. Having Town Watch is really helpful. You can see the amount of vision that I have with my opponent around the map, because I will be looking for sneak vills. I'm spreading out my eco a bit there. On the other side though, without Town Watch and being in this corner, you know, you have no idea what you're doing. And this is not an English disparage my opponent. Unfortunately, the strength of this build is how early it comes in. You're not expecting this many man-at-arms, you're not expecting this level of aggression just yet. You're not walled up, you don't have too much military. Man-at-arms are very powerful units. If you don't have a sufficient stack of archers or scouts or your own man-at-arms, you are not going to do well, especially once those armor and attack upgrades come in. Here, I'm almost up to Castle Age. My opponent, unfortunately, does not have any feudal buildings, so I've been taking them down. I don't have enough numbers to go in. The TC will kill my men-at-arms if I try and take the TC. But I'm mixing in archers now, just destroying the buildings, not letting them have any space to breathe. And that was it. So, really fun build. This is something I've practiced a few times. I've used the Indians, I've used Japanese. There are a few civs, as I've mentioned, that are really good for this style of play. If we look at the timeline here, as you can see, early feudal age, well, I say early feudal age, for my ELO, reasonable feudal age, followed by immediate supplies, town watch, and man-at-arms. I'm really looking to push them. I've spent my whole kind of game plan strategy trying to work out where the enemy is so I can hit them hard. I deployed my men-at-arms towards the enemy just before forging came in. So you can see at this point, there is not the military population to be able to deal with 8 Japanese upgrade men-at-arms. And the reason that this was possible, this earlier click up, if you look at the economy here, if you look at food, we see if we can fiddle around with the settings here. This actually shows the worker time. I've had consistently more worker time on going through the game, but also as well productive worker time. You can see here, even before the attack comes in Feudal Age, the efficiency of going for all those mills on the shorefish. And you can see by the end of the game, I collected significantly more food, significantly more gold, and a little bit more wood. And what's striking is, because it's earlier on in the game, maybe that wood price isn't too different, but because I've put the pressure on the opponent, I've been able to translate these resources into upgrades and into military. If you look at the APM, as you can see from the red line, this is a player who does not have hotkeys and is a low elo legend. But with effective strategy at this level, you can still translate that into the occasional victory. So thank you very much. I apologize for the slightly slower release of content recently. The upgrade to the next patch of AOE 2 unfortunately meant that many recordings that I wanted to cast became incompatible, but there will be more coming up soon. I've also recently begun live streaming, so keep an eye out in the comment section and the details of this video for a link to my Twitch channel. It'd be great to see some of you in for some live games, and I'll post my schedule on Twitch. So I look forward to seeing you. If you get the opportunity, feel free to like and comment and subscribe, and I look forward very much to seeing you in the next match. Till next time.